Sanibonani, sanibonani, sanibonani ninjani. Please let me know if you can hear me. Sanibonani, sanibonani, sanibonani. Hello, hello, hello. Sanibonani, you are welcome. I'm just waiting for my co-host. She'll be here in a second. Oh, Koko Nkanyezi. Yo, hi. Sbaning Nkanyezi. Too many Nkanyezis. As many Nkanyezis as in the sky. Sanibonani, sanibonani. King B, when vusi vutela. Sanibonani. Just waiting for my co-host. You guys can hear me. Perfect. Well, let me welcome you while I wait for her so that there's not just silence. Welcome, Bagwantu. Welcome to the great empire of Kemet. Ninjani Ninabasekemu. This is home for all Bagwantu. So as long as you are a carbonated being, this is home. You are most welcome. Most welcome. So please invite your friends. Come on over. I'm here to answer any questions. My co-host has questions. Oh, and she's messaging me. I hope. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, please just let me know somehow. Do something. Tap the screen. Something. Tap the screen. That way I know you guys can hear me. So, today we are going to have a question time. But in the meantime, while I wait for my co-host, I'd like to let you guys know, for those who are new here, what the Great Empire of Kemet is all about. So, one question people always ask is, hey, Nina, why are you people into these Egyptian things? It's actually not Egyptian. When we talk about ancient Kemet, we are looking at pre-Egyptian era. We are looking at a time when Bagwantu, so we're talking about the kings, the pharaohs, were in charge of the world, basically. Thokozeni Nkanyezi, do request Nkanyezi, the other Nkanyezi is here, who's my co-host. She will direct the conversation by asking questions. Nkanyezi, let me see. Nkanyezi, where are you? I do not see you. So, please do request Nkanyezi so we can keep going. So yeah, people always asking, so why are you people so, yay, you are obsessed with Egypt. Can we just move on with life already? Well, here's the thing. Here at the Great Empire of Kemet, we believe in the philosophy of Sankofa. What is Sankofa? Sankofa is, yeah, come via a different account, Nana. Otherwise, you won't be able to ask your questions. I know you're inviting people, so do your invites and then just come in through another account. I'll be talking in the meantime. Sankofa, for those who don't know, is a Ghanaian philosophy. And Sankofa basically means we reach back into the past in order to retrieve what is there, to bring it into the present so we can use it to build the future. Okay? So for us at the Great Empire of Kemet, what we are doing basically is we are reaching to pre-colonial times, because anything that happens after colonization is a distortion and is tainted. We go back to pre-colonial times, and it is in that context, the pre-colonial times, where we study and we look at what was going on with our ancestors in terms of spirituality, in terms of science, in terms of astronomy, astrology, in terms of medicine. Why do we do this? Well, for so long as Africans, as Bagwantu, we have been told that we are useless. We have been told and we've been sold a narrative that we are lazy, we are dumb, we are backward, we are primitive, and so on and so forth. And that's the narrative that has been sold to us for centuries. So you can imagine the damage that has been done to us, to the extent that we were called a godless people so that we could have a God introduced to us that had absolutely nothing to do with us. And in fact, the narrative of said God placed Bagwantu squarely in the camp of the no do-gooders. There was absolutely nothing good that Umuntu could do based on the narrative that was sold to us. And so the great empire of Kemet seeks to reconnect Africans with their glorious past so that we can heal. And when we heal, remember, we heal our ancestors. Legions of ancestors who transitioned in a lot of pain because they were told and died in the context of having been told that they were useless. They had their lands taken from them, wealth was stolen from them, artifacts were stolen from them. There was a whole lot of magic that was done to keep them oppressed, even in the spiritual realm. And we are here now retrieving their ancient knowledge so that we can use this ancient knowledge to chart a better way for ourselves and for our children. And by so doing, we heal these ancestors too. So Nkanyezi is here. I'm going to bring her on for her questions. You guys are welcome to ask questions. Please do request. Once she's done with her questions, we'll open it up to other people who have questions and we'll take it from there. Masithokozeni. Okay, Nkanyezi.
Thokozani.
Masithokozeni.
You know, I'm going to start with, I'm going to need everybody to tap the screen. Let's get to 10K likes. Yeah, that's what I do to make sure that everybody eats the soul food.
I love the way you said that. Everybody eats the soul food. Beautiful.
So please
tap away, guys. Tap, 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 tap. You know, guys, I'm actually learning from my own child here because technologically, I am not very advanced. So thanks to her, she's helping me make best use of this medium, this technology that we have to reach as many people as possible with this message. Kahle kahle, it's the message of salvation for Umuntu. Oh, I love your videos so much, Sisi. That's beautiful. That's for you, Nkanyezi. Someone says loves your videos.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, let's keep tapping, guys. Let's keep tapping. Okay, Nanas. Sorry, Nkanyezi mtanami, guys. In case many of you don't know, and I know there are people who will be asking, yo, so you named your child after yourself. Oh, no, actually, Nkanyezi is my Lozi name. She's Nkanyezi Yezulu lo muntu lo. And actually she's my spiritual child, but it's a lot deeper than what we see. Okay, Nana, let's go.
Yes, let's go. So first of all, like I said, I want everyone to tap the screen and share the live to everybody that they know that needs the soul food. I would like us to get to 10K, and when we get to 10K, if we can get to 20K. But for now, I did have a very, are more, I'm always speaking on behalf of everybody else, So there's questions that a lot of people don't like asking. So I like asking those questions because people are afraid. And I know if you were in the live yesterday, you heard the questions we asked and the ones we could not answer. But the question that I have right now is, if we know that water is the first thing that you think about when you get sick or when you feel uncomfortable or when you're just in someone's home, is there an essence of water that makes it more necessary to intake than just being a quench of thirst?
Nkanyezi, hey, waqala lapho nje nanazi. Unjani kanti wena vele? Hayi wenkanyezi.
I'm sorry, but that question has been in my throat this whole day, and I'm like, what is it?
Wena nkanyezi, why ubuya ne-personals zakho la? Anyway, let me answer your question. So the question is, I'm going to rephrase it, and then you can correct me if I'm asking the right question. So Nkanyezi's question is, water is the first thing we think about when we are sick. Water is the first thing that we think about when, let's just use when we're sick for starters and keep it there, correct? And now Nkanyezi's question is there more to our asking about water than meets the eye? Are we asking about water? Is there a more deeper question that perhaps our spirit is asking or requesting for this water rather than just mere thirst? Okay, Nkanyezi. What comes to me immediately is water and healing, right? Water and healing. Water heals. Water gives life. Water has memory. Water is mother, right? We all come from water. When we talk about, in Kemetic terms, the primordial waters of Nun, what are we talking about? We are talking about Ukulukulwane, which is that dark carbon matter that is like molten rock from which everything came. So when we talk about Ukulukulwane and the waters of Nun, you see, we are talking about something that is magical and potent and alive that has potential energy to create. Now, back to the issue of the thirst for water. Many of us as healers know that you can take water, you can speak to water, and water will react and respond. You can speak to water so that its chemical structure changes so that it can heal whoever drinks it. I used to teach a class where I would have everybody with a glass of water in the class. And at the end of the class, I would say, please, can you speak to your water? Tell this water what you would want it to do, both for your physical body and for your ethereal body, which is your aura, and then drink it. I've done it sometimes in consultation if I sense or feel in my body that the person sitting before me has an illness that they may not even be aware of. I might feel some pain in my back. I might feel some pain in my stomach, something that feels like an ulcer. And I will say to the person, "Phahlela amanzi wakho," which means basically speak to your water. You're not praying. By the way, guys, something that is going to shock you. Do you know that our ancient ancestors didn't pray? Ukukhuleka and to pray are two different things. And when that other book was translating things, it got it wrong. To pray is to plead. To pray is to ask in that manner, like, please, please, Hayi, umuntu besingayenzi. That's why I talk about speaking to water, because we are an authority unto ourselves. You can command anything to do anything and it will happen. So when you're speaking to your water, it doesn't mean you're disrespectful, but you are telling it. You tell the universe what you want. You tell this water what you want. You can tell a mountain to move and the mountain will move. Do you get where I'm going with this? We don't beg. We don't grovel. Because we're children of Creator, we're children of Umvelincane, Nomkhubulwane. We don't beg for anything. We ask. There's a difference between asking, telling, and begging. When you pray, you are begging. When you pray, you are sniveling and you are groveling. We are kings and queens. We don't pray. Tintin. Now, Nkanyezi, have I answered your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, because like I think about it sometimes that no matter what happens, we always, like, no matter how we feel, whether you feel just sad or whether you feel sick, you're going to say, can I just have some water? You know? And I feel like that goes back to what you just said. We speak to it. Water, come and heal me. Water, come and help me. You know that I'm going through this right now, so can you please assist where necessary? And I wanted people to pay attention to the answer, because we all know that we all have the same intuition when it comes to water, you know? I hope everyone who received the answer, who has been asking themselves, why is that the question? It almost goes back to like how you said, water is mother. Our mother is the first person that we call, even if we want to just make a appointment at a doctor's office. Mom, what must I say? Mom.
Even when you're sick, Mom, I'm sick, right? Mm-hmm. And also remember, our bodies are 70% water. Therefore, water calls to water. The water in your body will tell you that I'm not enough in this body, put more. That is your thirst. The water in your body will tell you, I'm not okay right now, put more of me. So when you're drinking water, you are replenishing the water that is already in existence in your cells, in your body, and you are recharging it with the water that you have commanded to do what needs to happen inside your body. Now, how does this affect your ethereal body? We were talking about your physical body, your organs and your cells and so on. Your ethereal body is your spirit body, right? When we talk about your aura, that is called an ethereal body, which has several layers in it actually. And so your ethereal body and its composition improves when you heal your physical body, right? So that's just to make that connection, body, spirit, and mother water. All right, Nganyezi, next question.
My next question is going to be very uncomfortable when it comes to...
which questions of yours are not uncomfortable? Nana? Yeah, I mean, I have to take a whiskey before I come to these.
No,
in future.
no, why would you mention that?
You. Okay.
Why would you say that? So I'm kind of shocked that you said that. Because my next question is, why is it that spiritual people are always, I don't want to say addicts, and I don't mean to say that, but why is it that we have like an addiction to either alcohol, Mary J., etc.? Why are these? Because Nana,
you're gonna have to break it down. Who is Mary J?
Mary J is marijuana.
Hey! Oh, Mary J. Okay. I hear your question. Let me answer it because there are people with questions in there, and I'm going to bring some people on. Please, when you come on, just mute your mic first in case I'm still talking. And if your connection is bad, I'm going to have to drop you quickly because that way we don't stall the conversation. Okay, here's the thing. This spiritual journey in and of itself is extremely difficult. One thing I've always said is if you don't do your shadow work to heal your inner wounds, you're not necessarily, especially with the way that initiation schools are structured, there isn't a lot of time to go inward. This is why, for me, the whole way in which we initiate spiritual kids has got to shift and change. There has to be a component of shadow work. At some point, this is going to be absolutely a necessity for any initiation school to have a period of shadow work. A period in which not only shadow work, but a period in which you first connect this spiritual child to who they are before you kupula or bring in all the other personalities of the ancestors they carry. Because what is happening is there are many people who go into initiation school, sometimes because things have gotten really tough, you know, and runs down the road to the woman 3 streets behind because Gaputum. Then there are those who go in after having all the prerequisite ancestral dreams, as we call them. But the missing component there is these people don't necessarily know who they are. I'll tell you something about ancient Kemet. Do you know that it used to take about 40 years for umuntu utwasa fully? By the way, people lived longer then. They were not as sick as we are. We yeah, we died too soon because, yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But 40 years as an initiate, which meant that when this person came out, they really truly were transformed on all levels. What is happening with a lot of us is we go to initiation schools deeply wounded, and we go through the processes of Ugutwasa. We kupula these other ancestors, you are aligned with them. Meanwhile, you don't really know who you are. Think about what that does to you as an individual, to have all these other personalities to the extent that you can no longer tell where you end and they begin, where they begin and you end. It's a mess. So one of the coping mechanisms that unfortunately spiritual people use is utshwala, alcohol. They will go into initiation school as non-smokers and come out smoking. They will go into initiation school as non-drinkers and come out drinking. There's literally a culture of drinking around, especially izangoma. The part where it gets tricky is there are certain ancestors who have a certain taste for something. So if you have an ancestor who liked a whiskey or who liked Black Label, and usekhupuliwe lo muntu, every now and then you're going to crave Black Label. Now here I'm not talking about the ancestors who themselves were alcoholics and who have not been healed, who then come through and now you have what we call hereditary alcoholism, which can be amplified in that spiritual space. Tolugutu muntu cannot sleep without drinking. They wake up in the morning, they're drinking. It becomes now easier to get away with this. They become a functional alcoholic because, hayi mina ngumuntu wamadlozi umkhulu uthanda utshwala. Hayi mina ngumuntu wamadlozi umkhulu uthanda i-cigarette. Meanwhile, your lungs are screaming for help. Your liver is saying, yo, ngeke. We need to have that discerning eye as mentors and so on to really kind of try to sift out what's going on. And what I found is doing the shadow work and doing the work of aligning somebody with who they truly are based on the calendar. What does that mean? This is the African calendar. The original African calendar, the oldest stone calendar in the world, Nzalelanga. This calendar is marked by 12 seasons, and our seasons in the African calendar run from the 23rd of each Gregorian month into the 22nd of the next Gregorian month. And the reason it's been set up like this is so that it is user-friendly, because unfortunately we are still using that Gregorian calendar, which really does not serve us. So I think I've given this example before. Say you're me, I'm Sekhmet. I go somewhere to initiation school or to a mentor, and the mentor starts there. What is your date of birth? You say the date of birth, we find you here. And then I say, right, let us study Sekhmet. Who is the principle, the energy, or the electromagnetic frequency of Sekhmet? This is where you learn that Sekhmet is a healer. You learn the mythology around Sekhmet. What happened with this Sekhmet and how did Sekhmet come to be? Sekhmet was called the warrior. She's depicted how? As a human, but with a female lion head with blood dripping. Why? Because Sekhmet was sent by Ra. When Ra, I don't know where Ra had gone. This is mythology, right? This is storytelling. Ra had gone off somewhere, comes back and finds that the people are making a mess of everything. There's no more Ma'at. Ma'at is another one of these principles that's coming in now, which is there's no more balance. There's no more law and order. There's no more respect for the cosmos, respect for nature. Then Ra has indodakazi yakhe, who is Neptet, umvikelikazi. And what happens in that time is he gets so angry, she sees her father angry, and it's actually not Neptet, it's who's the one they call Hathor? It's Heteru, yes. Heteru is the one. Gets so angry and immediately shapeshifts into Sekhmet and goes on a rampage, unaliving all these ungrateful beings. So when we then take Sekhmet, we're reading and understanding this cosmology, yet she's a healer. We understand something. Sometimes to heal, you have to slash and burn. If you have a wound, say you have a big pustular wound full of pus, in order for that wound to heal, what do we need to do? We need to cut that wound open, squeeze out the pus. Very painful. It's actually a destructive process. But we know that that destruction is necessary in order to bring healing. So when you then explain to somebody what this all means, that person gets to know who they are at their core, because they were born when this frequency of Sekhmet was prevalent. Therefore, they can only have the characteristics predominantly of Sekhmet. That is not to say you don't have all the other principles, because we are made up of these principles, but your dominant principle, lo moya oguwe, umoya ka Sekhmet. Does that make sense? So this is a long story that I'm telling. Nkanyeze, I told you that your questions are just going to lead us down a rabbit hole. But I thought it's important to specify that a lot of people have so much deep pain inside, and the only way they can escape that deep pain is through numbing themselves with substances. Insango is a very highly spiritual substance, right? Mary J, as she called it, is a very, and there are people, particularly those with higher spirits, who every now and then require, in order to connect with that Lozi or that higher spirit, require a puff because it opens up certain portals through which that communication can be clearer. Now, there are people who then go overboard because it's a nice feeling and they become addicted to that feeling. The sad part is when they then hide behind idlozi, and there's a lot of that in the spiritual space. Idlozi lam lifuna lokhu. Idlozi lam lithi ngithatha umfazi wesi-2. No, actually, idlozi lami lithi mina ngithatha abafazi bayi-5 one time. Guys, it's disingenuous, and really when people are doing those kind of things, you are not hurting anyone but yourself, because ngeke ubhaqe umoya, awungeke utsotse umoya ngamvela inqangi nomkhubulwane, ngeke. So it's literally, I always say to people, you know, spirituality is actually tougher than religion, because irreligion ngokufa kwayo uJesu niyambhaqa every second. You do something wrong, you go and you say, forgive me. Angisho kunale forgive 70 times 70 times. Lo Father God uzandiforgiva. You will be forgiven. That is the thing. But in spirituality, there is what we call accountability. Personal accountability to Lomoya. And personal accountability to your community. So you're really not getting away with anything when you do those things. But I think a lot of young people are falling into the trap because those before them in these spiritual spaces are doing exactly the same thing. So, and if you have a guide or mentor whose lozzies see through everything, they can x-ray you just like, won't get away with it. We will set
Because, I was thinking about even just the name in our language. When you drink so much, you destroy the liver, and the liver is isibindi, you know. And I had to ask myself, like, are they destroying the ability of having the guts to say what they need to say, to help who they need to help, or to retract when they need to retract? So that really answered my question. It really did.
So goes Amanda. Excellent. Okay. How many more questions do you have? Then we can ask other people to come on. Ask one more, and then I'll have people. Guys, please request. Let me start putting people on. Please just mute your mics. Somebody is requested here. There's only one person so far. But whoever has a question, please ask. I'll put you all on, and then we'll wait. Just mute yourself until Nkanyezi has finished. Next question, Nana.
Okay. This one, I need to understand why we call our throats umkala.
No.
And then when we think about
Please can you mute yourself, Noah? Thank you. You're saying?
I was saying that why do we call our throats umkala? And then on top of that, when we think about what does it mean to say in the beginning, and I'm going to mention this because I just want all of y'all to know we're going to be having a seminar on the 6th of August. And the seminar is actually titled Iqiniso, the truth, the real creation story, what you've never heard before. And it's going to be on the 6th of August. So if you want to book your tickets, we already have people who have been booking their tickets. Make sure you get your ticket. It's $25. It's via my Venmo or my PayPal. And it's going to be with Gogo Nkanyezi, who is going to explain to us what is Iqiniso. Now, the question is, umkala and ekukaleni. When we get hurt, when something happens to us, we feel it in our throats. And I won't say that bothers me, but I want to know, why do we feel it in our throats, and why does it hurt so much in our throats first?
Right. What comes to mind, even as you're speaking, is literally closed throat chakra. I think of the times where I've wanted to cry, and I'm trying to suppress the tears, and it literally aches here. The throat chakra, Ujehuti, right? Jehuti is the principle. It's called the mouthpiece of Ra. It's one of the principles here. Ujehuti is the mouthpiece of Ra. Jehuti is your throat chakra. It's about communication. It's about speaking out. And one of the things that happens is when you are hurt, deeply hurt, you want to speak out. Inhlungu le is a reminder that you need to speak out. The problem that we have is we live in a society where many people are getting hurt and they are swallowing it, or they have this lump in their throat. One of the things I do when we do chakra a realignment and healing of the chakras is I'm finding increasingly, particularly men, have a closed throat chakra. And men have a closed throat chakra because for years, since they're about 5 or 6, they are being told, Indoda aikali, men don't cry. Therefore, there is a repression of a lot of emotions they are not able to express. The only acceptable emotions for a man to express in the current paradigm, this matrix, is anger. Anger, yonke into ene-anger, i-violence, zonke lezi zinto, that is seemingly acceptable for a man to express. But for a man to actually express hurt, to say, I'm in pain, for a man to shed those tears that cause this lump in the throat, that closes up this throat chakra, it hurts because it's reminding you that you need to speak it out. You need to tell somebody. You need to share it with somebody. Even if it's sharing it, it needs to come out, right? And so what has happened when that throat chakra hurts and then you are repressing, anything you repress will find an outlet. And when it finds an outlet, it is never positive. So you find that perhaps a lot of kings who are violent are not violent by nature, but they are violent because they have repressed so much pain, and then it expresses itself as the only emotion they are allowed to show, which is anger. So your hurt will transmute itself into anger. Remember, everything is energy. Emotions are energy in motion. So if you can't express it as what it is, it will transform and transmute itself and express itself in what seems to be the acceptable way in which to express it. This is where healing becomes so important. This is where reconnecting with your divine feminine side, the mother mind, comes into it. Because it's acceptable for women to cry. Matter of fact, most people, if you're a woman who gets hurt or get told things and you don't cry, people think you're really strange. People will think you're really strange. Like you're, and then they'll say, "Oh, lo, yeah, lo, ulukuni, lo." It's like she's in her masculine. We've got it all so wrong. We say she's in her masculine, and yet the masculine we're talking about is a distorted version of the masculine. The masculine was never meant to be like that. And at his core, the masculine isn't like that. Now, Nkanyezi, you speak about the pain that's experienced in the throat first. There is another pain that Indlovukazi experienced, and it's experienced in the womb. We'll talk about that one another time. But I just wanted to answer your question. Did I nail it? Did I miss it? Let me know.
Yes, you did. You nailed it.
I got
Thank
it?
you.
All right.
Yes.
Masithokozeni. All right, Noah, thokozeni ninjani?
Ndawo Sekuru Makadini Mamukase, how are you?
Tiripo makadiko.
I'm good.
I can hardly hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yebo.
Oh, I wanna ask you. So I have Zimbabwean lineage, and again, I was born in South Africa. So since I was since I grew up in South Africa, so okay, I learned South African way, but the calling says, okay, I have a calling, but is it a must for me to initiate in South Africa or home?
Right. Good question, because I straddle many cultures too. The Zimbabwean tradition is very different from South African tradition. We do not have a tradition of initiation schools at home. In most cases, and this is the traditional way, even out here in South Africa, it was done, mandulo, is that, remember, we are talking about homes in which spiritual gifts are accepted and so on and so forth. They know, abantu abadala know when a child is born that they are gifted. They would be izalukazi in that family who would have had dreams telling them even before this child was born that this child in this tummy is anointed to be XYZ. So the upbringing of that child from an early age is in a way ukumthwasisa. They already know what things they need to do. They already know what signs to look out for. They already know to ask this child on a daily, what did you dream? So that whatever their dreams are, they can guide this child. Now, in Zimbabwe currently, most people are struggling because of this rejection of the calling. So families no longer know what to do. You know, they take kids who are spiritually gifted to fire churches for fire, and it doesn't really help anything. But what I'm trying to say is, there's no must in anything. You must listen to those who are walking with you. You must pay attention to your dreams. You must pay attention to your intuition. The basics of matari or ukupahla, you must know those so that you are in regular communication. Remember, it's a call and response. So you pahla, you wait, they will respond with either an instruction or a method. Sometimes you won't dream for a while after you've done something because, they're cool. There's nothing that they need to ask of you. We are partners still to maintain that connection with them. Now, yes, you grew up in South Africa, but you are originally from Zimbabwe. You said lineage-wise. I'm here to tell you something. Hey, why ningbuza into personal? Because angifuni ukuhlahluba. This is not what I'm here for. Yo ndaba zabantu. Yo nkosi yami. Please DM me. I'm not doing this here. Yo nkosi. Please DM me for a more detailed explanation. I cannot. I cannot. And even now, I'm starting to get a headache. I'm not allowed to speak people's personal things on here. So I'd rather you ask general spiritual questions, please. Okay. Yeah, just send me a message and I will be able to help you.
Here on TikTok, right?
Makosi, yeah, DM me and I'll give you my WhatsApp number. Angisakhuluma number lapha. I think that's why I got closed yesterday, because I gave out my number. So, and no one write it down. So just message me at my page. Mastogozin. Right. Any other questions? There's somebody here. If you can mute yourself, Noah. Who's here? Gogo Nkanyezi, another Nkanyezi. Uyinkanyezi yokusa, uyinkanyezi yezulu, uyinkanyezi yipi wegogo. Masithokozeni. I cannot hear you, Gogo. Your muffled.
Guys.
Yeah, boy. Thokoza ninjani. Welcome to the house.
It's my network. Okay, how are you?
Nice Pila Gogo. Ask away.
I'm very good. Like most of the time I meet people who'd be asking me when I'm live here on TikTok, I sometimes host live video. Do you believe those people are alive? I'll be telling those people that you would never know your ancestors till you go to the initiation school. because like you have to learn them, you have to learn everything about them. So most of the people think that as we traditional healers, we pray to ancestors, while not. We just ask for guidance from ancestors to in many things that maybe they demand from us, but we only pray to God. Can you please correct me on that one?
Thokozeni Gogo.
Yo.
Masithokozeni. Gogo, if
Toko,
I'm going to
Toko.
repeat what you've said, and then so that we are aligned, and then I'll answer. So you are saying that you don't believe people can know their ancestors unless they go to initiation school. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're also saying that we don't pray to our ancestors, we pray to God. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Let me deal with the first one first. Firstly, the first premise is wrong, Wekok, because actually it should be the other way around. You go to initiation school after you've gotten a certain amount of knowledge about your ancestors. Otherwise, how do you know you have an ancestral calling? Because you are dreaming snakes, because you are burping, because you are having out-of-body experiences. Like, that is where it becomes dangerous, because now anyone can tell you what your ancestor is this one and this one and this one. Unfortunately, in the spiritual space, it is so murky right now. There are people who know how to make you dream things they want you to dream.
And it's true.
So my rule of thumb is sit still, stay home, phahla, do different things. We guide people in the things that they can do at home until such a time as it is clear that you are one step out the initiation school door. I gave a message on my page recently that we are going to see increasingly more and more kids being initiated by their ancestors at home. Now, let us clarify, because I've had a lot of people who are like, hey, no. I don't like the term self-initiate because it implies that you are initiating yourself. You're initiating nothing. Your ancestors are initiating you. Even when you go into initiation school, your ancestors need to be guiding your gobela through dreams that you tell him about what the next stage is. So now, if you have a mentor who is good at dream interpretation, whose ancestors have gifted them that, who knows, okay, if somebody has this sign, it means that they must do this. Why go? The only major reason people go to initiation school, because some of these ancestors are showing their children mutis. Some of these ancestors are taking their kids underwater and showing them, all sorts of things. That would happen in initiation school. The only thing your gobela then does at that point is guide you. Okay, so you saw this. Okay, go. Choguti, hambiye dinga. Go and find these beads that you saw. Thokoza baba, ngikuphe inyoka enje. Ugobela uzokuthi, oh gogo, chokuthi uyazibonakalisa uzibani wasemanzini wakho. These are things that can happen for you while you're at home. However, and if you have a certain tradition in which you have to initiate, like ubungoma is a specific tradition that has a specific set of things that you cannot facilitate by yourself. Neither can your ancestors come in human form to facilitate those processes. That is when you go to initiation school.
And then, like, when I was in initiation, right, I was crazy when I went there. I went very crazy. I didn't know what was happening with myself. Then I felt myself very crazy. I felt very different. And I told my God that, why am I feeling this way? Then he just told me that I have ancestors that are going to initiate me by themselves. Because even now, when I'm here with you here on TikTok, they listen to everything and they are responding back to everything that you say. So I always have something in my ears, like some sounds like bragging things in my ears. And that's when they would be telling me that it really shows that you are always near me so that I could not do mistakes. Because like they always tell me what not to do, and what's right and what's not right. And even when I was in initiation school, they even told my Kobela whatever they wanted to tell him, that you doing this wrong. We wanted this to go like this, and you
Injala.
lying to this child because we don't
Injala.
want this child to do this and that and that. Then
Right.
so yeah.
So I guess you were asking your question more as a general question for those who say, because based on your experience, it would seem to me that you knew the answer already, which is that no, it's
Yeah.
not true that you know your ancestors in initiation school. How you're not going to initiation school to fetch ancestors, or unless you have your twala, in which case you're not initiating your twala. Your ancestors are with you in your house, in your bed, wherever you come. So you need to get to know them, the way they communicate with you before you go over there. Then the second part, let me answer the second part real quick in the interest of time. You're talking about praying to God. I defined, funny, I already answered your question. I don't know if you were here, where I said, we don't pray. Because this business of praying, the word pray, guys, do you know that etymology, the study of the meaning and the origin of words, is very important? Many of us are using English words whose origin you do not know. Yabona, that word bless, if I told you the origins of the word bless, you would run and you would never use that word again. To say to some, Mina, when someone says bless you, I'm like, I keep it because I know what that word means and where it comes from. And I've explained where the word God, G-O-D, comes from. So when you say praying to God, my spirit says, hi, because even the word God itself is not ukamata, it is not umvelingang, it is not unkulunkulu, it is not usomandla, it is not those things. That word G-O-D has its own origin. And its origin, I don't want to speak it here because I think I've already talked about Gudan. But put it this way, God was a specific deity in a pantheon of Israelite deities, one of which was Baal, B-A-A-L. When they decided, remember, this is men now just deciding on their own, you know what? In order to control people, there are too many people who are in the school of Baal, the school of Gudan, the school of this one. Let us consolidate this whole thing and then become monotheistic and believe in one God. That was that done. Suddenly that one God. Then they're like, now what do we name this one God? Bati, Gudan. Gudan equals God in English. So when you say God, do you realize what you are doing and who you are calling? You are calling an ancient deity, and the problem with calling that ancient deity has got nothing to do with you and your ancestry, number one. Number two, this deity was actually a very bloodthirsty deity. They used to do ritual sacrifice nengane infants. So
In fact, like I'm asking this question because when I was in initiation, as I'm telling you that I was created, then I had a Bible verse. Then they told me that go and read back Corinthians 12. And back Corinthians 12, we have two of them. But then, like that back Corinthians 12 was explaining exactly what kind of spirits I have, what kind of a gift I have. And it also included some sort of things that are evil. Like it was saying that I have
okay, this is
something
too
inside.
personal, Gogo. This is again, I'm getting that feeling in my tummy and that headache. This is now too personal. This is not the place for it.
Yeah,
If you would
yeah,
like to share or get help, you can message me. But we are keeping this general. These lives will be general, guys. I'm not coming here to do personal things. Mastokozen, I don't see anyone else asking any questions.
I've got
Nkanyezi?
another question.
Yeah,
Yes,
keep it general, Nana,
I did
please.
have another question. So I wanted to know, like, what is this? Why is it that And I hate, I don't mean to say it if you're not going through it, but I want to understand overall. Why is it that as Black women, we find ourselves, as Bantu women, we find ourselves always having to take care. This is not towards you, sorry. But we always have to find ourselves to take care of men. Whether it be our husbands or our sons, it's almost like our daughters can do well by themselves. Our sisters can do well by themselves, but our brothers, our husbands, our sons, why?
If you follow Mkhulu Nsingiza, how many times have you heard him say, "Siyingane thina kubo mama"?
Yep.
That is why Mkhulu Nsingiza will always say, men can never be above woman. Ngoba thina siyingane, siphuma ku mama. Meaning to say, even a 5-year-old child, mama. That's why you find even it's nature's way. It is isimo sethu njengendlovukazi njengama what do we call them, amakhosazana. Siyomama bezizwe, we are the mother of humanity, Nana. We are the only female on this planet that has the mitochondria and genes that can produce every other nationality that has yet been born. We are the first person on this earth. Therefore, ask again your question, why are we finding ourselves taking care? Because it's nature's way. Now, it's a different kind of care that we give to boys, to teenagers, to grown men. But at the end of the day, it's all still nurturing. We are nurturers. We care. The problem has come where, because of this whole colonization and slavery, Indlovukazi had to take on a role that is very masculine, which is the role of protector, which is the role of going to find food, which is the role of earning a living. That is what makes nurturing for us such a burden, because in many cases, you're having to be all things to all people at the same time. That is exhausting. We have a nurturing role, which Mandulo, you did your thing as umama wekhaya, Indlovukazi. Ubaba had his things that he did as ubaba wekhaya. Ubaba wekhaya was brave. Ubaba wekhaya was the one who, if there was noise outside, it's him who would go to the door and give his life for Indlovukazi nengane. Sadly, ijikile leyo, because abantu abalimaza ingane, the people who are hurting women and children, are the same people who are supposed to be protecting us. Therefore, many of us have had to switch from Istwaba to Ibeshu, meaning we've had to become masculine in order to do even the role of protecting ourselves and ingane. And this is what at GEK we are working to try to assist people to heal, so that once again divine order is restored. Otherwise, as in now, we are not going anywhere. Bagwantu. That needs to be healed. So whenever I go through these streets and I see men bashing women, women are too masculine, this, and then I see women have contempt for men, have lost all respect, and women will say, give us something to respect. Right now, skala ngomhlaba. Chakuti, women must be the ones who now take the lead to go and get umhlaba, because one thing we know is umhlaba lo, umlungu is not giving it to us. Trust. We have to do like Zimbabwe and go door to door. Emaplazi. The men aren't standing up to do that, which is actually what they should be doing. I've always said, bring me umhlaba. Ngizotamba ngibe the most feminine you've ever met in your entire life. But as long as I must go and panda out there and take care of kids, I must be in my masculine, because what I meet out there, ngihlangana ngabelungu, abesifazane, ngihlangana ngabelungu, amadoda, ngihlangana namandiya, namachina, namaspanish, abadekela umuntu womnyama owesifazane phansi. Black women are at the lowest rung of that stupid illusion of a totem pole that umlungu has created. So sinyathelwa amadoda wethu, sinyathelwa abelungu, amandiya, we're at the bottom. Is it any wonder then that we have had to assume a masculine energy just to survive? So, Nana, I want to tell you, if you have a problem with nurturing, that means there's some inner healing we need to go in there and pick up and find out what has caused it and what is going on. And I'm speaking to you because you asked the question, but I know you're asking for the collective. Indlovukazi need to heal themselves. We've been through a lot. And I know there are men who will say, yeah, so have we. Yeah, but the question was not addressing Nina. Skuluma ngabantu besifazane addressing this question. Masitokozeni, there's some people who want to come on. Let's see.
Thank you.
Racing frames, the Pagafly, oh yeah. And then user, you better not be a troll, I swear. All right, Masitokozeni, racing frames. How are you?
Thokoza Gogo.
Thokoza Khehla, ninjani?
Unjani Gogo?
Guys, can you mute yourselves? I'm getting feedback, please. User, can you mute yourself? Otherwise, I'm going to have to take you off. Okay.
Coco, you can also mute them on your end. I don't know if you know how to.
Yeah, I do. I just thought that, I'm communicating with a human, but obviously not. Or maybe they've gone somewhere. In the meantime, Racing Frames, what is your question or comment?
Okay, Gogo, ngizafuna ukushiya my real name kama Uluyolo.
Luyolo, Thokoza Khehla. Nice to meet you.
Okay, Gogo, you were explaining before about the term God, about where it came from. Nana, can you please explain further if you don't mind? And also the word blessing as well.
Nina nifuna ukuthi uTikTok avalwe ngabelungu.
All right, okay, at least the term ukuthandaza, because we're programmed ukuthi mawukuthandaza uyacela nani. So as you explained ukuthi uyakhuluma instead of ucela. So how do we go about doing that? Do we also go about closing our eyes, going with our inner selves? Skhulume, how do we go about lento ukukhuluma instead of praying?
Inkulumo nabantu abadala, inkulumo, to have a conversation with your ancestors is if we are going to use that horrible word, it's the same as praying. So when people say we don't pray to our ancestors, we venerate, nonsense futhi yonke is playing with words. Siyazi ukuthi in order to reach umdali, how do you reach umdali? You go through abantu abadala. Who are who? Ancestors. They are the ones abathatha lezicelo zakho nento lezo ozifunayo benikeze umdali. In the Karanga culture, they will tell you that God was so busy. He's so busy with the affairs of the world. Hey guys, please mute. There's somebody who's making noise. Yo.
You don't even know which one to pick.
Ngiyamsusa lo muntu. Okay. So what I was saying to you is, that is why noma siphahla kanjani. Even when you use candles, we have different candles to represent or to meet or to connect with different frequencies, where number one, there will be your ancestors. The second one, there would be the angelic beings, meaning those spirits that are there as your spirit guides, but that were never in human form. Then we've got the white candle that is representative of Umdali, Usomandla, Ukamata, Uma, Unomkhubulwane, whichever one you happen to be wanting to xhumana with. But ungena kanjani? Ungena namadlozi, abantu abadala. They were the ones in human form. Their sole purpose, now that they have transitioned to the world of Amatongo, they are back kukhulukhulwane where it all began. Their sole purpose is to help you to xhumana with Umdali and to manifest those things that you are asking for. That is why it is very common. Mina ngiyake ngiyenze le mina ngabona ngani amadlozi wami they are too quiet. Hayi siyathukana mos. Hayi ngiyabatshela nje. Batshela ukuthi hayi man ngifuna ukubulala ma udubula ma ufuna udubula kodwa mina ngizoyisho lento le ukuthula kwenu hayi ngeke. Ye ngikwatela bona because bona kumele basheshise izinto engizicelayo kumdala. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, Gogo.
Masithokozeni.
Enkosi, Gogo.
So let me tell you nguhlebele ngeword elithi bless. Its etymology ke ngoba vele ikhona. You know that word bless? It comes from a ritual. The word bless and bliss are linked. It comes from a ritual that used to be performed whereby abelungu, and I'm thinking it's probably during the time when the Israelites had different deities. To bless someone meant that you took igazi lomuntu womthela ngalo, your blessing.
Yo.
Hey nina, nithakathiwe, nisontile, banisonta, sithakathiwe sifile. Why do you think angifuni ukuyizwa ne-religion yena? Angifuni. Yibuthakathi through and through. And if you look throughout incwadi le, ngama-ritual awegazi throughout, ama-ritual. And la khona okungihlekisayo is that time bethi wena lethi indodana yakho igazi pass over uthi the angel of what izodlula lapha sacrifice all the firstborn sons in a family. Ne uJesu wayenza kanjani? Igazi manje esontweni banikezana umzimba negazi lika Jesu ukuthi lenzeni lidle. Thina
That's cannibalism.
Yebo, silabantu thina siyazi lento le. Yiro. So that's why ngithi ungayifundisisa ukuthi iphumaphi lencwadi namagama and the meanings of some of these words. You will stop saying some of them. So people get mad at me on my page when I say I don't believe in your God. God wenu lo angimazi and angimfuni. And people say, hey, yo, lo unamademon. This one is pure. If I'm not saying I don't believe in creator, umdali, usomandla, unomkhubulwane, umsikavanu, mwali, mwari, musikavanu. I'm not saying I don't believe in that. What I'm saying is this deity of yours, angifuni tuzani kwami, ngoba babeyisungula ngegazi lengane. Does that make sense? So people don't wait for me to explain what I mean. They rush to say, oh. And then when I say siyashisa thina amaBhayibheli because inonsense yonke, ngiyazi ukuthi ngiyenzelani ngoba into le iyasetshenziswa ukusithakatha thina. Sithakathiwe, that's why sinje. So injalo Khehla. I hope I've helped in some way.
You really did, Gogo. And another question, you know, we tend to call each other the gods and goddesses, you know. So is it wrong in a way to call each other that from the term God itself?
Yazi Khehla, you ask a really important question. That's why mina isilungu kahle kahle, and I'm sorry for the English speakers. Let me revert because I'm aware that we are making this global right now, and I want to reach many people. I don't like English because it's a dead language. Do you know English is actually an adulteration from German, an old Germanic language, which was then used to create Anglo-Saxon, which is Old English, which was then used to create English as we know it now. And through that whole process, the meanings, the original meanings of words have been lost. That's why when I tell you what bless means, and you're like, because the original meaning, which predates the Germanic, the original meaning where it comes from, and the rituals that used to happen, by the time it gets to English, it has changed how it is used, but the essence of the word still exists. Therefore, if I say, bless you, what I'm invoking is the frequency of the practice and the ritual of blessing, which was pouring human blood on Sombori. So it is, that's why ultimately, and this is for my African-American babies, I love you guys so much. One of my biggest wishes and prayers for you is that Medu Netcher, which is our classic language, soon becomes the language which we use to communicate with one another. I'll tell you why. Because Medu Netcher itself, this is the ancient Kemetic language, is actually a synthesis and a purification and crystallization of different versions of the same language from the inner continent going all the way to the south. I think I did a video on my page where I showed the Igbo Insibidi. Insibidi is an ancient classical Igbo writing that if you look at the hieroglyphic, if you look at how it's formed, it is very much like Medu Netcher. The Dogon of Mali had their own symbology, which if you look at it, very much like Medu Netcher. In Southern Africa, we have these cave paintings, and that is writing, that was our hieroglyph. So when all these scholars and initiates were going and traveling to northern Kemet, where everything was refined, this is how they could communicate with one another, is because that language had common symbols that they could all use and common pronunciation to understand one another and to share information, knowledge, science, astronomy, whatever it was. So my prayer, in the sense of not my plea, but my manifestation, is that sooner rather than later, we start teaching Bawantu Medu Netcher. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Makes sense.
If it's okay, I'd like to also add that when we think about Medu Netcher and we think about the word neteru, that's where the word ntu comes from. Bantu, abagantu is neteru. The words were, the N was a capital letter, the T was a capital letter, the U was a capital letter.
That is
Neteru.
it.
The vowels, which is also a secret language, cannot also be loud, so it had to be silent, which is why it's not written in capital letters. So when you think of what is Ntu, because people want to make Ntu an ethnic group or a tribe, and it's not. Abagwantu.
And Ababantu are all melanated beings. As long as you are carbonated and you have the cosmic dust and you have this dark matter that is up there in the cosmos in you, ungumuntu, munu, mundu, mutu. Finish, and we are all related. And when we are all free and we are all vibrating at the same frequency, I can't even say it because I'm starting to feel like it's deep. That's why you see sometimes in ancient Kemet, you will find a line of Abantu holding hands, and at the end of it, there's a light bulb switched on. Through the energy that is flowing through all of them, a light bulb. So when they tell you Uti Thomas Edison discovered the light bulb, amanga, kone kemitama light bulb.
Well, to add on that, I think my opinion is that Thomas Edison who discovered this light, he actually discovered the way to keep the light on, not to ukuthola ukuthi ikhanye light, if you get me, Coco.
No, but when now you are implying ukuthi babekhanyisa nje light and then they didn't know how to keep it on. That's also false, Kel.
Yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun. That's what I'm here to tell you. So all these things that Umlungu has come with, I created this, I invented this. There's nothing new. Go on the walk of Kemet. You'll be shocked to find there's helicopters. You'll be shocked to find there are spaceships. You'll be shocked to find there are motorbikes. I'll put up graphics for you guys. That's why I want to do seminars. Because when I do seminars, you will see for your own self. Seeing for many of us is believing. You will see for your own self these things that I'm telling you. I'm not making any of this up. I have the graphics. I just got to fix the class and then we'll have it.
Can I also add that when people say it was not a white man, it was a black man, I would rather say it was a society or a community, because a lot of the time when people say that, they really reference, and I'm not even saying this in a mean way or anything, it's always an African American person who created it, as if African people had not been already utilizing these specific things.
Yeah.
So I would rather
but in Kanyezi, I think we also have to be very careful in the spiritual space and have a certain empathy and compassion to the fact that there is so much that has been hidden from all of us. And some of us have just had a head start in terms of chronological time in acquiring this information. And so I think sometimes when we teach, we have to do it with a compassion to the fact that there are people there who will call you a liar because it sounds outrageous. Why? Based on what they've been told about the African person, based on what they've been reading and what they see on CNN about the African person. If you go into teaching with that in mind, you are more likely to change somebody's mind or trigger that DNA memory rather than have them in combat mode ready to fight you. This is something I've learned with time. I've learned the infinite gift of patience because I understand how wounded we all are. On the continent, in America, in Cuba, in Haiti, wherever, we are a wounded people and we need to start loving one another and treating each other with respect, because that is what is going to ultimately heal us as a collective. Pat, do you have, no, there's the pug. Hello, the pug. Hey, what a name.
Hi, Gogo.
The pugafly.
Pugafly.
Thokoza, mara ngicela ukubuza wengane zami. Amagama lawa liwathatha phi? Uyabona futhi ufaka ithombe, it looks like kunomlungu. Mina, do you know that I usually block people?
What?
If you come with a name that sounds like Slungurish, ngiyablocker usually because umlungu ayingangimfuni ngoba bayasidisturba labantu laba.
Sorry to stop you. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm Kenyan. I'm Kenyan. Greetings from Nairobi.
It means your profile picture looks like a Muzungu.
Okay.
Oh, what?
A Muzungu.
I'm Zungu.
No. I'm saying the name that you have there, right? Most times I have a tendency to block people with names that sound too Mzungurish because they kind of come onto our lives and onto our posts to disturb. But go ahead and ask your questions, Dada.
Oh, it's a nickname. Sorry. My real name is McKenna. It's a nickname. It's my art name. Sorry to scare you. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So my question was, I wanted you to speak about the darkness in relation to things like creation and meditation, because like whenever you hear, especially like these preachers, I mean, they're always saying going to the light, but in reality, when you're praying or when you're meditating, when you're talking to your ancestors, you have to go into the darkness when you're creating. You have to go into the darkness to create. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if
Total
I've
sense.
explained it.
Total
Yeah,
sense.
you have to
Okay.
go into the darkness to create. You can't create in the light. Even in the Bible, like in the beginning, God wasn't in the light when he was creating. He created things while he was in the darkness because he
Okay.
created the light later on. You understand?
I totally hear
So,
you. So let me answer your
yeah.
question because the Bible triggers me. Oh, Nick. Here's the
Also, me, it
thing.
triggers me. So I was just using it as an example, like for context for what
So
I'm talking about,
I totally hear
about
you.
creating in the darkness. Yeah.
I totally hear you. And here's my answer to you. Right now, according to the African calendar, right? In the southern hemisphere, everybody is experiencing winter. Now, what does that mean? It means that the sun is over here where I am in the northern hemisphere and we're experiencing summer. What is winter? Winter is a period of darkness. It's a period of quiet and solitude. Matter of fact, the prevailing energy in the southern hemisphere right now is the energy of Asa. No, it's not Asa, it's Alset. You see, I don't use those terms. I use Nomkubulwane. Who is Nomkubulwane? She is mother. So whenever we talk about this time of year in the southern hemisphere, we say we are in the womb. We are in the darkness of the womb of who? Of Unomkubulwane, who is what? She is creative. She is mother. She's the master magician. So when you say that you create in the dark, you're absolutely correct. What are we doing when we are creating in the dark? You are doing and casting your manifestations in the spirit. Then, when spring comes, which we're going to celebrate the African New Year in September, this is when you make what you were casting or creating in spirit in the dark of the womb. That is when you now action it because the time for physical activity is there. Meditation is the same. That's why this time of year is a time in the southern hemisphere for going inward. Why? I shared it on a podcast I did, and it's so beautiful. I love, love, love our science. Unomkhubulwane or our set, in terms of elements, is oxygen. This is the time where we are deep in her womb. Therefore, when you said meditation, when you meditate, what are they telling you to do? So if she's the dominant element, which is oxygen, she supports your meditation. She supports your yoga. You're going deep inward because you are in her womb already, encased in her oxygen. And I always say, Bagwantu in the southern hemisphere, take deep cleansing breaths because a lot of us are sick because the cells in our bodies are not oxygenated enough. So to answer your question, yes, 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 and yes, we create in the dark. That's why I don't like that book and I don't like that religion because it separated us from nature. When we are aligned with nature, we know exactly what to do at what time of year. We know what the prevailing energy or element is. And our ancestors didn't have words like oxygen and hydrogen for the sun. They didn't. But that innate knowing, because remember, you are nature, they simply responded to the shifts in energy accordingly. That is the beauty of being umuntu. Aibo! Ah! Ngaze ngayilava,
It's
ngayithanda.
so
I love it.
beautiful. It's
Can I
so.
just can
I
I just
always even
say that
say
it's
that.
amazing that you okay.
I always even say that when someone has bad breath and people can tell, like a lot of spiritualists can tell that I'm yakula, and you may not be sick physically, you could be sick spiritually. But when your breath is a different scent, they can tell what is wrong with you, which is just beautiful to me. And it goes back to the question that I asked about umkala.
Masithokozeni. Thank you, Nkanyezi. So thank you, the pug. Thank you. Thank you, Dada.
Makena. McKenna.
Asante. Now, Pat has been waiting so patiently. Togoza, Pat.
Thokoza Gogo.
Togoza, ninjani.
Siyaphila bengikuthanda. I love you, love you, love you.
Oh, ave ngikuthanda back. Abona ukuthi ngimamateke before you even said it because I could feel your love.
But I'm a lost spirit because I love what you're saying so, so much. And I'm hearing people telling, you can see they're full of information. I have less information, but I'm out here for what is being said by everybody because I can feel it in my guts that I
Yebo.
belong.
I-resonance uyayizwa lento ukuthi la
Yes,
kukhulunywa amaqiniso man. Ne? I love it.
yes.
Love it.
And I have rebelled from the church because I grew up from the church. My mom was a church goer. She taught us everything about the church, and we used to pray and a lot of things I can go to town about. Yes, but when I reached my adulthood, even before, when I was a child, I was a very like taking her out of the church dealings. Like I will dream flying high.
Yebo.
My homeland is Zimbabwe, but I was born in South Africa. My mom is South African. My father was a Zimbabwe,
So your
but I've
homeland
never been
is so your
in.
homeland is Africa. Sorry to interrupt you,
Yes.
Wekoko. Mfunanje, I want to say this to Bagwantu who are here. We have Kenyans, we have Cameroonians. Why is that? Because we are one thing. We are one
Yes.
thing. So people will ask me, where are you from? And I'll be like, I'm from Africa. They'll be like, huh?
Mm.
Which country? I'm like, no, Africa is a country. I'm from the
Yes.
country
It's
of
so
Africa.
true.
Because there's nothing that separates me from you. There's nothing that separates me from Dada Wanga here from Kenya. There's nothing that separates me from my Congolese. Because guess what? We are a mishmash of DNA from all of these places. Our ancestors used to move freely. And yes, they had their battles and little skirmishes. But then guess what? They were always in my art. After a war or battle was over, a cleansing was done, and life moved on. It's human nature to battle. But what
Mm.
Umlungu did was came and then took our beautiful cultural differences and used them to turn one against the other. And how? By taking all that was ours and creating a scarcity mentality, a scarcity mindset, so that we were now fighting for crumbs. So,
Yes.
can we get out of that, please? Because really, that is the one thing where Umlungu has done a number on us is divide and
Yes.
conquer. And that is the
Mm.
biggest thing we need to overcome so that we can unite. I'm telling you, once we unite, it's game over for the whole world.
Yes. You can feel that. The thing is now with me, I'm starting from scratch and I'm trying to take out this church mentality, the brainwash and all. It's very difficult. I like the way you put it to say, you have to be patient with these people because
Yeah.
we have been brainwashed for quite some time. You are a great teacher. You will reach us. The thing is, for me, I want to know how to phahla because when it comes ekuphahleni, I am exposed to this phahla which says there must be a blue candle for your father's side, a yellow candle for your mother's side,
That's
and
already a
the
big
white.
mistake. You see, that's already a big lie. Gogo,
Yeah,
come into my DM. I will help you out. Ne?
thank you, Coco.
Go to
Thank
my
you very
DM.
much.
I'll give you my number. Come and join me. I will give you basics of Patha. And since when you draw from ancestry in I will call it in Zimbabwe, where that
Mm,
area, I will be able to give you the nuances of that Patha so that you can honor those ancestors, these ancestors, and many others. You have an entourage of ancestors, all of us. And they will show themselves at different times. like I said, you just got to be patient. But do come into my DM and I'll be able to help you out.
Thank you very much, Gogo. I think you have answered, and I will. Thank you. Bye.
Togoza.
Bye.
Okay, I think we have time for a couple more people. After that, guys, I need to sleep. It's like almost 1 a.m. here. And I'll give my little announcement. Nkanyezi will give her announcement, and then we gotta close it. All right. Who do we have? Who is next? Inkosikazi something. Togoza,
Intokazi
Togoza.
yomzulu.
Ebo, I can't see the full name. Togoza Ndlovukazi.
Sanibonani,
Sanibona.
Makhosini.
Emakhosini ninjani?
Sanibonani. Sikhona njani?
Intokazi, I just want to let you know I love you so much. I really do. I just want you to know that.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu, ngiyakuthanda nami, ngiyakuthanda kakhulu Nkanyezi. Ngiqala ukuhlangana nepage lakho ngathi ngiyahlanya lokhu, ubani lo? Ngiyahlanya lokhu, uhlanya lolu. Yeah, ngiyabonga kakhulu. Morning everyone. Ngiyayibongela ithuba. Umbuzo wami uwodwa ukuthi uma ngabe usesikhathini sivumelekile na ukuthi siphahle noma
Yebo. Yebo, I've done videos on this where in Ndlovukazi, you can go on my page. I've literally done videos about this kind of thing because inonsonso yonke le ekutshela ukuthi awuphahli, abanye bathi awupheki, abanye bathi ungcolile. Nonsense. Nonsense. So please go and watch that video. Like, I'm not meaning to rush you, but in the interest of time, because I really got to get going. But that video is there, and if you don't find it, DM me, and then I'll direct you to it.
Ngiyabonga.
Masthokozeni.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Okay, one person we've got. I think it says Sean O'Brien.
Yeah. Good person, good day. I'm calling I'm from the Caribbean, not Mazungu. I'm melanated.
I hear the accent. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's still there. So welcome, King.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. You know, it sheds a lot of light in what you're doing. I like how you teach.
Oh, thank
You're very passionate about what you're saying, and I like how you break down the languages and how we need to know when we're using certain terminologies, what energy it brings with it.
Exactly.
It's one of the hardest things for us to recognize using terminologies from European concepts. That messed us up a lot.
Yes. You are correct.
I just want to say I like how you're putting it across, and it's very, very hard to reach our people, especially in Western Hemisphere, because we still caught up that we are separated by cultures, and really and truly, our ancestors were way advanced.
That's it.
They were way advanced. We now catching up with what our ancestors were doing.
That's it.
And the biggest challenge we have in my part of the world, people thinking that the West was first and Africa was second, and you try to explain to people there was no first and second. Our ancestors were moving from one point to the next point so easily, like how we use aircraft now. So there was no special place for us to be. We could have been anywhere at any time.
That's it.
They
would, you know what? They would think it, teleport, right? You just think it, you're there.
Yeah. And even though that they had stargates, so they could have traveled from one point to another point in a few seconds. Those who were physical, those who could not transit from one point to the other spiritually, they had physical objects to move them from one point to the other.
That's it.
We're not prepared to deal with those topics because we're still so religious. We're still so spooked up.
Yeah. You know, thank you for bringing that up, because that brings me to my next question. Because when we talk about the Inzalo Yelanga, this oldest calendar in the world in Mpumalanga, in South Africa, this calendar is actually a portal, because the way in which it's constructed, the ancestors, and they used sound to lift these huge dolomite rocks, which are not from that place. They are very different from the bedrock of this place. So it means they transport, these things are huge. You have to visit to see it. And they used sound frequencies of different to lift these rocks, to place them. And their placement was in alignment with the Orion belt, right? What does that mean? This place was also a portal from which they could move from where they were to another place along what is called the Golden Meridian, which is that electromagnetic spine of Earth, if you like. I'm going to do a teaching on that and kind of show graphically what that looks like. But Sean, you're correct. And all we can do is continue teaching. All we can do is continue providing the information. There was Ndlovukazi here who said, I come from that religious background, but what you're saying, I feel it. That is the resonance we're looking for when we share this knowledge, because it's really encoded in our DNA. All that needs to happen is for someone to unlock it. And then the rest is history. If the person who gets unlocked doesn't experience cognitive dissonance, where they go into denial and run further and further into religion instead of further and further towards themselves, right? So our job is compassionate teaching and creating that resonance, making sure that these sparks of light, like Ptah, you know, that first spark that created, that began creation. Abelungu call it the Big Bang Theory, but it's not. But that spark, it happens within us too when we hear certain truths, right? And then creativity and creation starts again. So thank you so much for your contribution. Now, I just want to add here that I will come back on another live. I really just wanted us to do a question time with Nkanyezi, because Nkanyezi has her nub, her spiritual thumbs on the pulse of young people, particularly in America. And so I will partner with her a lot to make sure that her age group gets mentored and come up, because you are the ones that you've been waiting for. You see, your parents, we have disappointed you for the most part. So you rely on yourselves. And so some of us have been placed to assist you to ascend, because we're going to need you guys to ascend. A lot of you are engaging in things that are so harmful to you. Sometimes I can't sleep at night when I imagine some of the spaces, places, things, people that you are all interacting with. So, Nkanyezi, Mama, I want to so thank you for saying yes to your calling to do this.
Question.
Yes,
Question.
sorry.
The initiation part was in the Western Hemisphere. How can we correct the proper information getting to us so that we won't get caught up in religious dogma?
No, why don't you DM me? Maybe what we can do, and I'm always looking for collaboration. That is really what I'm looking for. If there are ways in which I can best serve, say, a community that you know, you just need to guide me and direct me. I have no problem teaching to a particular community. If you can create the space and bring the people together, I will come in and teach. And occasionally, Mkhulu Nsingiza can come in and teach too, because Mkhulu Nsingiza and I kind of work together. So please DM me, let's start a conversation, and let's see what we can do in a concrete way. I'm very action oriented. So yeah, if I kind of come across someone who's also action oriented, it's like, let's go, let's do this. Masithokozeni. So
Thokozani.
Nkanyezi, let's round this off, Ntanam.
Yes, I wanted to say just thank you to everybody who came and you're appreciated. I do want people to know that we are having a seminar on August 6th. The flyers will be going out by tomorrow via social media. It is going to be a online seminar with Gokonkanyezi about iqiniso, meaning the truth, the true creation story. So make sure you get your tickets. You just go to my link tree and you will know where to find it, and get your ticket, reserve your ticket. So I would really appreciate y'all to come and just hear the truth. And I think that will answer a lot of questions that you guys have that are personal, that are very deep, and things that you've been asking your ancestors for a while. And I know that everybody who is going to be at that seminar has to be there, and that their ancestors want them to be there. So I appreciate you all. This was a great night. Until tomorrow, because we've got more questions.
Wow, bring them. I got Nkanyezi, yenza kancane, man. Do small. Hey, some of your questions, especially the opening questions, you are giving me gray hairs because of these your questions.
I can't help myself. It's the questions of the people, and I just want them to hear it for themselves from the mothers,
I love you. I love you so much, Nana. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of how you're walking. I want to thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much. Please, stay connected with us. We are all here to grow one another. We are here to expand ourselves. We are here to return to our former glory. Aibo, it's time. Isn't it about time? The world knows who we really are. But first, we have to know who we really are. The world will only respect us when we start to respect ourselves. The world will only start to see us different when we own our land, we own our own healthcare, we own our own food production, for goodness sake, to grow, to feed ourselves. When we know that, when we have our own education systems, when we have our own banking system, that is what makes a powerful nation. And the world will never respect us until we start to make those things happen for ourselves. Remember this, it is not yet uhuru. And freedom, you don't get given it by anyone. You take it. Masithokozeni, and see you guys soon. Lots of love.
Thokozani.
Thokoz.